Hey everybody, it's Sports Insider. Sorry to those of you that were watching our live stream of the dog. We'll get back to your regular dog programming momentarily, but we are going to talk sports. Kay Cabot will join us to talk Browns. Paul Hoynes will join us to talk Indians. And of course, Chris Haynes will join us to talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Are those still scheduled or did they just cancel?
I think they are scheduled. I want to say that I'm really sorry for those of you who wanted to see a dog or Chris Fedor. I'm in his place today. No, I'm just saying that I've disappointed a lot of people by being here instead of Chris.
That's true, including me, actually. All right, let's get right to it. Let's talk Browns. We bring in our Browns beat reporter, Kay Cabot. Kay, how are you today?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. And Kay, of course, OTAs are underway. We had an opportunity to get our first look at OTAs yesterday, including Robert Griffin III, who certainly sounds like he plans on being the starting quarterback. He didn't necessarily look like the best quarterback on the field yesterday, but even though Hugh hasn't named him the starter, is he actually the starter right now?
You know, for all intents and purposes, he really is. That's the way that it's supposed to end up. That's the way that it's expected to end up. And I believe that will happen unless it's just incredibly obvious to everyone out there that someone else is better. And right now, and I'm going to be doing 10 observations off of what we saw yesterday in a lovely slideshow coming up this afternoon. But if they had to play a game tomorrow, I would start Josh McCown over Robert Griffin. Just he's got chemistry with the players already. He knows the system. He's more polished. He just looks more ready to go. He's played more football more recently. And, that doesn't mean it's going to end up that way. But if they had a game this coming Sunday, I would start Josh.
Kay, I'm glad you brought up his name. He will turn 37 on July 4th. How do you think this organization realistically looks at his role with this team? Or do you even expect that he will be on this team when the season begins?
In the early going, when they first signed RG3, my first thought was that Josh McCown was going to be definitely gone. But the fact that they've kept him around this long leads me to believe that maybe they are starting to see some wisdom in keeping him around, not only for his ability to start games or to go in there in the event that RG3 gets injured, but also to mentor a Cody Kessler and to help out an RG3 with so many different kinds of things. And when they got here and discovered that the chemistry was great and that he's so team-oriented and all about helping the people around him, they probably thought, what's the harm in keeping him around? They don't have a lot of money invested at all in the quarterback position. Most teams are spending far, far more in one season on the quarterback spot than the Browns are right now. So they can afford to keep him, and it makes a lot of sense.
Do they create an issue, though, if Josh McCown outplays RG3 during the early part of training camp?
Well, they could create an issue, but, right now they're probably looking at it like, they really want to find somebody who can play the position, and I think that's the most important thing they're trying to do. If for some reason Josh continues to, look that much better or separates himself and looks a ton better, it would be a hard sell. But they could sell it on the fact that they wanted to go with more of a dual threat type of thing and get back to some of the things that RG3 did, when he was running the read option and things like that. They could just say, this is where we want to go with our offense this year. So they could package it in different ways, but he is going to look pretty good. He's going to look pretty good throughout, and at times he's probably going to look better than RG3.
Kay, we also got to hear from Joe Haden yesterday, and look, this secondary, as we kind of got to see ourselves, especially a cornerback, is incredibly thin, especially without Joe Haden. He says he doesn't want to miss any games. He's not going to miss any games. Two-part question. One, do you believe him? And two, how much trouble is this secondary in if Joe Haden can't be the Joe Haden he's been, not last year, but prior to that?
Well, you know what? I think they've got enough young guys that if they do need to roll somebody else in there in the early going, that they would be able to get the job done. Now, who is subbing for him right now? None other than Justin Gilbert, and I'm very curious to see what is going to become of Justin Gilbert this year. One of the interesting things is he got on the wrong side of some veterans last year. Some veterans just did not like where he was coming from in his first 2 years, including Dante Whitner. And Joe Haden said some things yesterday that, Players are behind him now. Veterans are behind him. He's got a fresh start. So let's see what he could do with this fresh start and with a defensive coordinator who used to be a defensive back. As far as Joe Hayden getting in there and playing games this year, you know what? I believe he wants to, but I do also believe that he's going to have to if he does make it in there for the opener, and they should not rush it. Don't rush it. We've seen that happen before. There's probably no rush. If he needs two more weeks, give him the 2 more weeks. But, people, it takes time to come back from a surgery, and it takes time to get back into football shape after you missed 11 games last year with various injuries, including a serious concussion. So I do believe he will be back this year. I don't believe they should force it if he's not ready right away.
Which holdover receiver should feel most threatened by what this team did in the draft?
You know what? Right now, I guess I'm going to probably say Taylor Gabriel, only because I think they're trying to go bigger. And I think that, that he's someone that, they might find, they can do better with Rashard Higgins or something like that. So, he's one that you're going to have to look at. Andrew Hawkins is so scrappy and such a hard worker, and he's been with Hugh Jackson before. But, he might also be somebody that they, might want to replace with a little bit more size and things like that. Now, Brian Hartline, he made some really nice catches in practice yesterday. And, he gives you that veteran experience, that presence. So, right now it looks to me like he should be okay. And then Terrell Pryor is really coming around, and that'll be one of the observations that I make in this slideshow.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot, our Browns beat reporter. Thanks for the time, Mary Kay.
Thank you, guys.
Who do you think is the odd man out there?
Well, I agree with her about Taylor Gabriel. I would think that that Pryor is also on that list. I mean, I don't pretend to know how he looked out there at OTAs. I didn't see him. But I'm just saying that, he used to be one of 7 guys involved in a position competition, and the other 6 all had played the position a lot longer than he. Now he's one of 11 guys that's out there, and they all have been wide receivers. So I think it's going to be tough for him.
Yeah, Pryor yesterday kind of looked like he did in training camp last year, which, let's be honest, it's easy to look good in that setting. It's not as easy to look good when the bullets are flying in real games. All right, let's switch gears and talk Indians. We bring in from Cincinnati our Indians beat reporter, Paul Hoynes. Hoynesy, how are you?
Good, Dan. How you doing?
Hoynesy, could you hit Cincinnati pitching right now?
I don't know about their starters, but I might be able to hit their bullpen guys.
All right, fair enough.
Man.
Hoynesy, it is way too early to scoreboard watch. But that being said, for as frustrating as this team has been, they are currently sitting 2.5 games back of the White Sox. They play the White Sox next week. They obviously have to play a tough Red Sox team first. But, for all the complaints, for everything you can look at and say, will this team ever get it going? I mean, they're right there in the middle of May.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Reds certainly came along at the right time for these guys. There's 3 games above 500 for the first time since the end of the 2014 season, and when you say frustrating, the Indians have been the kind of the definition of that. But they've stayed around 500. They've and you never knew if they were going to get hot or cold, but they've started to hit. Rajah Davis has, for 3 games at least, looks like Ty Cobb or somebody. He's really had, he's really performed well, and you're getting consistent performances from Lindor, Kipnis, and Napoli. As much as he strikes out, is still kind of a force in the middle of the lineup.
Hoynesy, what was it like covering Ty Cobb? Okay, all right, sorry.
I helped him sharpen his spike.
Hey, do we see Cody Anderson anytime soon?
Well, that's a good question, Bud, because they've got that doubleheader coming up Monday with the White Sox, and they need a spot starter. Anderson could get called up, under the 26-man rule. I don't know if they'd be doing him a whole lot of favors, though. I think this kid, he needs to kind of regroup, but, he went down for 1 start already at Columbus, and obviously that didn't do much good, based on what we saw Monday night against the Reds. He's not even he wouldn't even be able to get a start down there, I don't think, in Columbus before, if they brought him up Monday. But right now it appears he might be the leading candidate.
Hoynes, another guy in that rotation now, obviously started the bullpen, Trevor Bauer, maybe showing some signs of being the starter the Indians want him to be. Do you see him staying in that rotation long term?
Yeah, I do, Dan. Of course, they've got Carrasco coming back. He's going to pitch a simulated game today at Lake County, but he's still a ways away. He's still probably 2 to 3 weeks away. But even when he comes back, he could replace Clevenger, and Bauer's going to stay in there. He's pitched very well. He lost against the Twins his last time out, but he still had a quality start. So I think he's in there, and he's doing some good things. He's cut down his walks. He's getting deeper into games. He's been a solid guy.
Hoynes, given everything Dan mentioned earlier, do you feel like you're going to be covering a contender this year?
I think they've got a chance, Bud. I wonder about their hitting. I think, if anything holds them back, that's going to hold them back. Consistently, day in and day out, producing enough runs to support this pitching staff. I still think that's a concern. But I think that, they're in second place now. We really haven't seen them play against the White Sox. I think they played 2 games when it was still, Ice Station Zebra at U.S. Cellular Field in April. But it's still, I think they've got a chance to be a decent team.
Are the White Sox legitimate in your mind?
Yeah, I think they are. I think that's a real good pitching staff. They've got 4 left-handers. Sale looks like a Cy Young winner. And all the moves they've made over the last 2 years, I don't know what took so long, but it looks like they finally are paying some dividends. And I think getting Frazier was a big plus for them.
Hoynes, Jose Ramirez is a guy I think a lot of people wrote off last year when he was kind of competing for that job, and he got off to such a slow start. But look, this kid is 23 years old. He's come out of the gates strong. How important has it been that Jose Ramirez has been so good early, and what effort are the Indians going to make to get him more at-bats and consistent at-bats?
Well, I think, Dan, he's in the starting lineup right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he's playing third or left field, especially with Brantley down. He's going to be in there almost every day. And, that's kind of I think Francona saw him as a super utility guy, and now he's one of his regulars, his best inning regulars. So, he's going to be in there. And Brantley, we just don't. No one knows exactly when he's going to be back. So I think for the foreseeable future, Ramirez is in the lineup almost every day. I thought, I always liked him. Even at AAA and coming up, I thought he was kind of a change of pace player. But I saw him coming off the bench and being, stealing a base and playing defense. But I didn't see him as a regular. But I think that's in his future.
All right, Paul Hoynes, our Indians beat reporter in Cincinnati. The Indians have a tough series against the Red Sox in Boston. Then, of course, they go to Chicago to face the division-leading White Sox. Hoynes, thanks for the time.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Hoynes.
Jose Ramirez is great.
Yeah, I like the way he plays the game.
Him and Francisco Lindor. I mean, what Lindor has done this year, I think, is incredible. The guy's hitting over 300, coming in with all that hype. No sophomore slump yet. It's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, he's no Johnny Peralta. Now, who's
good,
actually
right?
a pretty good, who was actually a better player than I think he got credit for while he was here. But, I mean, this kid, obviously, it's so trite to say, but he's got a chance to be really special.
Yeah, it's great to see a prospect that the Indians drafted and developed come up and actually look like he could be one of the best players in the game, honestly, at some point. Let's go ahead and switch gears and talk Eastern Conference Finals. We bring in our Cavaliers beat reporter, Chris Haynes. Chris, how are you?
Doing fine, guys.
All right, Chris, I'm someone sitting in Toronto. I'm deciding if I want to watch the game tonight or watch any of these games. Try and sell me on Toronto having any shot to make this game tonight and this series interesting.
What else is on TV?
Chris, are you still there? I think we lost him. Well, that's probably the answer. That's probably an appropriate answer.
I think he's going to say, I can't, and he hung up. He said, I cannot make that case. I'll see you later. I think that was his response. No, it's a tough one. I mean, I'm as intrigued by the other side of this coin where now people are lining up to say that the Cavs are not only going to win the title, but might go undefeated to win the title. Somewhere in the middle, I think, is the real measure of both teams, and we may see it in Toronto. It may take us a couple of days to see it.
All right, we got Chris back, and Chris, I think whatever happened there was pretty much the answer as to why Toronto fans should have hope in this series.
Well, there you go, right there. But no, I was saying, what else is on TV tonight? Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much not anything else to watch. Look, it's the Eastern Conference Finals. If you're a Cavaliers fan, you're 3 wins from going to your second consecutive NBA Finals, making your second consecutive NBA Finals appearance. Look, it really doesn't matter how you get there or the way that you get there. The Cavaliers in Cleveland as a city is starving for a championship. So you can't be too picky. So I think just from that standpoint, you have to be intrigued or just at least watch a couple of the highlights, couple of minutes of the game.
Chris, while you were redialing, I said to Dan, I'm intrigued by how many people NBA people are now lining up behind the Cavs and saying that they should be the favorites. I think one even, who was it, John Sally recently today said that they will go undefeated in winning the title. Are you a little surprised, and do you think it's an accurate measure of how well they're playing, or are people just not quite understanding that the matchups have really favored them up to this point in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, that is a big part of it, but look, I have to give the Cavaliers credit. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. All they can do is play who's on their schedule. And they're taking care of business. They're doing it in multiple ways, whether it's from using the three-point weapon or going inside in the paint like they did in Game 1. But you also have to keep things into proper perspective. It's the Detroit Pistons. It's the Atlanta Hawks. It's the Toronto Raptors. That you're going to look good. You're going to look great. You're going to shine. There's going to be highlights. So you have to understand, those teams, that's not OKC. It's not the Golden State Warriors. It's not San Antonio. And these teams are not even the Portland Trail Blazers. So from that measure, just slow down the brakes, enjoy the process. But come on now, it's not the same level of competition. But the Cavaliers are definitely a team to be reckoned with, and they definitely got a shot at winning the whole thing.
Chris, maybe the one thing that you look at with this Cavaliers team, and we've sort of touched on this before, is, it looks like they're going to get to the finals without having to face any adversity together. Even last year when they faced adversity, the big three was not together. Kevin Love was hurt against Chicago, Kyrie against Golden State as well. Do you see that causing any problems when they face a better team in the finals and are maybe down 2-1 or have to play a Game 5 tied at 2?
Well, I would think, look, and LeBron was asked that this morning, and he said there's no way in the world that we need to lose a game to face some type of adversity. You play to win. I would think, it's just my opinion, but I would think it would be better to go into the finals fresh. I think you want a more fresher team to go into the finals, whether you play and have some adversity or not. You want to be fresh because we all think, or it sure looks like, the Golden State Warriors and the OKC Thunder are going to go the distance. So I would much rather have a fresh team and a team that can properly prepare and had adequate enough time to prepare for the next opponent than to have a team that's went through some adversity and is probably banged up. So I think it kind of favors the Cavaliers. But I definitely get the argument. I definitely get, having not going through any adversity. But look, this team, ever since they've been put together, they've been going through adversity. So I don't think they need to experience much in the postseason to say that they're lacking in that area.
Have you been impressed with Kyrie Irving's defense in the playoffs?
I think he's made a much more concerted effort on defense. Yes, I am surprised at his effort. I do see some times where I still see the old Kyrie slipping into play, but I think he understands that, look, point guards drive this league. He's a point guard. He knows how dangerous this position is in this league right now. So he has to put forth much more of an effort. But I also do think the team schemes have tailored towards helping him out a little bit more. You can see on, some of the drive penetration, there's that secondary help coming a little bit quicker than it would have in the regular season. So he's getting a lot more help, but I'm definitely seeing more effort on his part.
Chris, before we let you go, looking at the Western Conference Finals, you said that you think it's going to go the distance. Yeah, I wonder how important is it for Steph Curry especially that they get 3 days off in that series? Because, last night obviously he had that burst in the third quarter, but it looks like at times he's still just a little bit slower, and that knee is maybe giving him a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say I think it favors a team if you can really get the series out the way, period. And same for Golden State, for numerous reasons. But obviously for Steph, he wants to get as healthy as possible. He's not all the way there. I think we can see it sometimes in his movement. Certainly in spurts he can be that Steph, but he's not there on a consistent basis. So definitely it's going to help him if he get those, get the maximum days of rest before the finals start. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's still basketball. It's only 4 teams left. Sooner or later, we're going to be 5 or so months of non-basketball. So I think these games are still entertaining, still appealing. But I'm definitely looking forward to somebody covering this game. I would definitely like to see if Toronto can give them much more of a fight than they did Game 1. That was just ridiculous.
Chris, one last question. Given what we saw with Toronto defensively in that Game 1, where they gave up a lot of easy baskets in the paint, a lot of straight line drives to the basket, what's the expected adjustment that we'll see in Game 2?
Well, I think we're going to still continue to try to run them off that 3-point line, but I also believe that they're going to actually start helping on defense and stop letting guys just have a clear-cut pass. I mean, that thunderous dunk on LeBron James, I mean, he just went by DeMar because there was nobody within. It was ridiculous. There was nobody even close to stopping him on that dunk attempt. And it was like that pretty much the whole game. So, look, I expect them, continually to run them off the 3-point line, but make sure there's guys within the arm's reach of helping and get more back to the basic fundamental ways of playing sound team defense.
All right, Chris, thanks for the time.
Take care, guys.
All right, bud.
Well, that leads me right into my comment here. The Cavaliers won Game 1 by a postseason franchise record 31 points. And after that game, we heard the Raptors say that their team is not intimidated, that a loss is a loss, that Toronto beating the Cavs twice in the regular season gives them some confidence, which is exactly what you would expect players to say and a team to think trailing 0-1 in a 7-game series. One Cavs fan considered that, quote, talking trash, end quote, and wondered what these Raptors could possibly be thinking. I guess I'm not surprised fans feel that way either. I'm just surprised that anyone who regularly appears in the comments section of cleveland.com could possibly be bothered by such mild trash talk. The Cavs still need 3 more wins to advance to the NBA Finals, but we hear, quote, bring on that chump with the mouth guard dangling out of his mouth, end quote. Cavs fans apparently can't wait. Quote, take these northern socialists out quick and get some rest, our next commenter says, while proving there's no separation of sports and state in a cleveland.com comment section. Cavs fans want the Raptors to know the regular season doesn't matter, that these Cavs are a much better team now. But some things from the past do matter, at least if they allow for one final dig at an overmatched opponent. This photo perfectly shows the Toronto defense, the caption says. And I'll give them that much. It shows 4 ineffective Toronto defenders in various states of vulnerability as Dwayne Wade drops in a layup. 2 of them are colliding with each other. But let's be accurate here. That picture is not representative of the Raptors defense we saw in Game 1. Against the Cavs, no more than 1 Raptor defender was ever in the picture on layups and dunks. Can the Raptors win the series? No way. No more than a cleveland.com commentator could win a congeniality award. How's that?
Hey, look at you.
Calling you out,
back
people.
Around.
Calling you out.
What was DeMar DeRozan doing in that?
Yeah, that was like, I don't know if it was worse to be caught flat-foot there or just be caught up in the air 5 feet away.
It's like maybe they saw that photo and they thought, you know what, against the Cavs, let's just not get put in any of these photos. Let's just get in and get out. All right, that'll do it for Sports Insider. Thanks to Mary Kay Cabot, Paul Hoynes, and Chris Haynes. Of course, Bud Shaw filling in for Chris Fedor. I know you guys are tired of looking at us, so we'll send it back to the dog. Thanks for watching.